Thank you for getting this started, and thank you all for being a part of this again. I took a few notes as the introductions began. Next meeting and specifics and actions, and that's really the theme of what we're going to talk about today, because if we get the information that we need regarding strategy, it means you're really commissioning another level of work, and that's about focus. And I saw the word closeout, a closeout meeting. What does that really mean? It means, I think, there's a sense that we know what the projects are that we would take ownership over in a collaborative position. There's a general allocation of labor. We know how we're going to measure our success. So what we do today is directly related to what's going to take place in 2 months. So I'm Don Upton with Fairfield Index. This is Dan Hodge with HDR, Decision Economics. He's on the Project Point, and I'm going to help move through the meeting today, and we're going to hit that 4 o'clock mark as best as we can to keep our commitment to you. One other note is I'm always asking you to please look at the session notes, and many of you, I thank you, before the meeting started, came up to me and said, dead on, you heard me, and it's important that we hear that, because all of our job is to be faithful to what the conversation is in the room, to make a good historical record of what's taking place. But speaking of historical record, I hope you've clicked into what's on YouTube, the video product. It looks pretty good. And for folks that are looking to connect with your conversations, I want to keep reminding you that from time to time I'll go, wait for the microphone, introduce yourself, so that the family looking in from the outside knows who you are and what we're talking about. So I'm going to ask you to work with me as we go through this today. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started at a fast pace here. Here's the day's agenda. Project status update, where we are, where we're going, the strategic planning framework, goals, objectives, strategies, actions, reporting, and measurement. What I want to do is both the practice, the discipline that I think that we could put in for a strategic planning framework that will allow for us to have projects, and we're going to start filling in the blanks. So we're going to, based on all of your good feedback, suggest to you that there are some strategic goals that are already in place. And then a discussion of the draft strategy for innovation ecosystem. We'll take as long as we have to on the strategies, because we've got to be commissioned clearly to go forward with these, with what time's left. We'll dive into the innovation ecosystem, and then we'll talk about next steps. And then for the chairs, I'll outline the report I'm going to write next time, and we'll go home and get to work. Now, how is this working? Many of you we spent time with in the interim. Some of you hours and days. And so I thank you for all that time. Hopefully you're getting a sense that when we meet here in a short snapshot in time, all you're doing is commissioning a lot more work to happen in the interim. And as we go on, Madam Chair, the interim is going to get more and more important, and these committees, these sessions are going to be more like the status point. So I thank you for engaging with us in the interim. I know I've seen you, Bill, many times, and you, Alan, just as an example. So let's go ahead and get started here. Dan, project schedule.
Okay, we failed to bring a clicker, so I'm going to be somewhat constrained by needing to reach over and advance the slides.
You're doing an excellent job.
So far, so good. But I may be slightly anchored. Well, page down. But right now we'll just talk about the schedule for a moment. As we were talking a minute ago, today is our third of what we're calling these in-depth working sessions. What we had scoped out and talked about at the beginning was that we were going to do 4 of them. So roughly speaking, we're at about month 6 with the third of the in-depth working sessions, meaning that the one that we were just talking about, which would be in roughly 2 months, is a critical one where we would go through the entire complete strategic plan, draft strategic plan with you. As you can see, in month 6, all of these bars here are focused on strategies. So that's what our work is focused on is the strategy development. And before we go too far down the path, we really did want to present what we see as some overarching goals and objectives and a framework. One of the things that I sent out a couple days ago, hopefully most people received it, was what we're calling a draft strategic framework. It was about a 5 or 6, maybe 6 or 7 page document, which I view more or less as an outline of where we see this project going. And we're going to go into different elements of that today. But as Don noted, getting some agreement and feedback and comment on that allows us to then go deeper into the actionable strategies and projects. Thanks, John. Just another viewpoint of our schedule. Here we are, April 6th, task force session. We got the session notes, as Don was talking about a month and a half ago. We've been doing a bunch of community focus group meetings, other interviews and research, and once we set that date, we'll be able to change that hopefully to either June 8th or whatever we settle on as a group. Next. So in terms of what we've been doing, we did attend some of the urban renewal plan meetings between us and the John Adams Innovation Institute. I think we covered all 4 of them. We also, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we heard, we conducted some what we called community stakeholder focus group meetings here in Holyoke. We continued doing a number of other stakeholder meetings, both locally and in the region. We met with a group of local entrepreneurs. We led a roundtable discussion on talent and education, which we'll talk about a little bit more. We continued doing other interviews. And we've drafted this strategic plan framework that I mentioned a minute ago that was really based on the SWOT analysis that we talked about at the last meeting. So from that, that was great input to be able to try to draft this strategic plan framework, which we then have reviewed with Tim and PVPC, with Kathy, with Eric, and a few others. So it's not done in a vacuum. Hopefully there's some good ideas to share with you today. We've also put together a few performance measures, which we'll show, and we've also done a draft energy strategy based on some initial research and findings. That is an element where we're actually meeting early next week to try to nail down some of the elements. And it's too bad Jim Lavelle's not here today, because that's obviously a key piece of our energy work. Go ahead. Okay, I just briefly wanted to let you guys know about some of the meetings that we did have, in particular on March 9th and 10th. We met with a manufacturers group, a group of Holyoke local business owners and landlords. We had a group of about 20 or so community-based organizations that we met with. We had a very interesting meeting with the Holyoke Youth Commission, which ranged in age from, I'd say, about 12 to 16. So we got some different perspectives there. And then had another set of meetings on March 10th at Holyoke Works. We had about 25 Holyoke-based workforce representatives there. Churches, Holyoke Public Schools and the superintendent, and met at a Holyoke Community College class. So are trying to get a range of input as part of this process. Next. Some of the major themes and findings from the meeting. Education came through, I think, in just about every meeting that we had, that it's critical for both attracting businesses and linking residents to jobs, keeping students in school and motivated, the need for universal access to high bandwidth, trying to decrease the dropout rate, internship opportunities, and the connection between the colleges and universities and Holyoke were some of the themes that came through. Also wanting to enhance the labor pool to meet job opportunities. One of the statements that the group of manufacturers that met was that, you know, their first preference is not somebody straight out of school, but someone who's a bit more mid-level to come in and do some, you know, fairly technical, sophisticated manufacturing work. Revitalizing Holyoke for stronger business opportunities, that relates to the infrastructure as well as the continuing pursuit of an arts and innovation district. I think at one point it was called the Arts and Industry District, and I think the notion is to focus on arts and innovation. Next slide. Some other findings related to home ownership and the quality of the residential and rental market. Noting some of the amenities that are either underway or being pursued to be more attractive in terms of downtown amenities, whether it be the Canal Walk, Victory Theater, the planned train station, and proximity to higher education. Improving site marketability, that's something we'll talk about a little bit more, but it came through especially in our meeting with the manufacturers and the local business owners, was looking at the existing vacancies and sites and finding ways to remove blight, emphasizing the free trade zone to the appropriate businesses, the lower costs that are found in the district, both energy and land, and strong accessibility to transportation. Next. So I'm going to keep going through these, and then we can pause and see if there are any comments or questions on this section. Then we also had a number of interesting comments in terms of the importance of arts in Holyoke and arts as the presence within the Innovation District, some of the existing galleries and the importance of live-work space, and a lot of emphasis on a commitment to hosting events in downtown Holyoke, not shying away from having events here, trying to draw more people here throughout the year, more than the St. Patrick's Day parade or an event, which I know is a big one, but having even more events and a commitment to doing that. Having safe and creative activities for kids and teenagers, venues to showcase their talent. When we met with the Youth Commission, they actually had a map that they had put together of some different potential initiatives, and it wasn't so geographic specific, but one of the things that kept coming through was a sports complex, whether it be like indoor soccer or basketball, but the importance of having those kinds of venues for kids. And then in general, recreation is part of an integrated development strategy, and the need to improved community parks and open spaces, as well as access to the river. Go to the next one. I think that's the last of this set. Yeah. Any questions on that? It was, for us, I think, a very helpful set of meetings where, as we've discussed before, we're balancing